Hi, I'm Kathy Crinion, and you're listening to Seamus Long on Irish Country Music Radio.
Feeling what we had again. Do I cross that line? Blur your life with mine? Or do I stay standing on the edge? Or do I stay standing on the edge?
There you have it. That is, of course, Kathy Crinion, and she is joined by Adam James on that one, new single from her. But I have the great privilege of bringing Kathy Crinion on tonight. Now, this is a lady whose voice, I tell you, there must be elves. Santi has given the loan of his elves, and he has given them some sort of a honey mixed with thread to make gold, and puts together a voice that is so sweet on the ear that it's like this. Dentists probably tell you not to listen to Kathy Crinion because her voice is so sweet it would probably cause damage for years to come. That is the truth. If you could get through to your teeth, through your ears, Kathy Crinion would be bad for them. She is absolutely the sweetest voice known to mankind. And Kathy, hello there. Are you there?
What an introduction. I'm like, oh, I don't know whether I'm hungry or... That's like, oh my God. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's like a fear of dentists or I'm actually hungry for toffee or something. That's brilliant.
No, you know, it's an ongoing, well, it's a very public secret that I happen to love the voice of Kathy Crinion, and that being your own good self, Kathy, of course.
Oh, thank you so much. You're very sweet. Pardon fun.
But no, of course, the first time I would have seen you, I know I've said this before, myself and a very good friend of mine, Annette Doyle, we went up to the Songwriters Awards back, what was it, 5 years ago now, I think it was.
Oh, would be, yeah.
Yeah, and Michael Cummins, of course, was putting together the music awards for the Songwriters, or not the Songwriters, the Irish Farmers Journal. Apologies, the Irish Farmers Journal. And he had a great lineup because he, as well as established artists, he also introduced people to new up-and-coming artists and talent that was just about to break through as such. And myself and Annette happened to walk in, of course, slightly late. Kathy Crinion was on the stage, and we just heard this voice. And the two of us just looked at each other and picked our jaws back up off the ground. And Annette said to me, she says, she says, I think I can go home now. I've heard enough. Because we both figured that if we only heard your voice that night, it was well worth the trip just to go up to Athlone just to hear that. So, that was the first.
Amazing. Gosh.
Yeah, and would you believe it? Annette was actually, I was only chatting to her today, and I just said to her, by the way, you know who I have lined up for tonight? And she says, who? And I says, female. She says, yeah. She says, that cuts it down a little bit. And I says, yeah, no. You know the one that made our jaws drop? Kathy Crinion, she says. And I says, yep, that's her. And she says, Jess, she says, you were wanting to put her in before Christmas if you could. And I says, yes, I was. And it worked out. But anyway, enough of this fandom. And
I know I'm feeling very, very, very happy here, sitting here. I'm actually sitting here with a blanket over me and a hot water bottle. I'm absolutely freezing. Just feeling very sorry for myself.
Hopefully that has improved you to some degree.
Absolutely. Lovely. Very, very warming thoughts indeed.
Now, Kathy, you, as I say, like, we saw you that night 5 years ago, but, like, you, obviously, you've, with a voice like yours, even I'd say when you were a little baby, when you were crying, people probably queued up to listen to it, did they?
I'm actually singing like in front of people, and I'm not necessarily talking about audiences, but sort of like family audiences, friends audiences. There was about 4. So I don't really remember not singing. So I know my first sort of public performance was in George Henry Lee's in Liverpool, which is where my grandmother used to work, and she was a waitress there. And she asked me to stand on top of the stairs and sing for all the staff there. So that when I sang Long Haired Lover from Liverpool, as you do when you're in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And proceeded to fall down the stairs. So that was my first introduction to public appearances. I think it went uphill from there.
And when you fell down the stairs, did you miss a note by any chance, or did you just
I'm sure I missed a lot of it, or made a few new ones on the way down, I'd imagine.
And what age would you have been at that stage, Kathy?
I was 4.
4?
Yeah, definitely 4. Yeah.
And as you say, it went uphill from there. So tell us,
it couldn't really go much further down.
Well, you see, it's all to do. You know, what I mean, you can have the highs, and then you had the lows of showbiz straight away, like on the one. So at least it gave you a taste for it. So, and as you went along, then, like, I mean, from 4 years of age, like, what way were you singing in school concerts or singing?
Yeah, I guess I was.
Or?
Yeah, I would have sang in school, and I would have always been picked for leads for stuff. And then I used to sing in the choir at church with my dad, and he was a lovely singer as well. He was a big fan of Bing Crosby. And I would have grown up listening to his music, and Mum loved Jim Reeves, so there was definitely influences there from an early age, musically, I suppose. But yeah, I would have been the choir, would have sang at school concerts, and then sort of by the time I was 13, 14, I was singing in talent competitions. There was a lot of talent competitions back then. So yeah, like my first band, I think I was about 17 or 18 when I joined my first band. So, but I don't remember not wanting to sing. I've always wanted to be a singer. That was just something, you know, when you're in school and you're talking to teachers and, you know, they're telling you like, what are you going to be? I was in a vocational school in secondary school.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was all about getting a job. It wasn't about going to college. There was no mention of college. In fact, it was all about getting a job straight after school. So, you know, I'd say, well, I don't want a regular job. I want to be a singer. And they were going, but that's not a job. You can't make a living being a singer. That's just not a job. That's just a fanciful idea. But I think for the most part I proved them wrong. But it used to annoy me greatly that they knew I could sing, but they just didn't think it was something you made a career of. So there was never any, you know, they'd be happily have you, you know, supporting the school at a concert or something by singing, but they'd never kind of encourage you to be a singer as such. I think I did one of those aptitude tests where I was either going to be a forklift driver or a hairdresser. I don't even know where the correlation is there. Not a clue. I don't think I know a hairdresser who's a forklift driver, but there you go.
Well, it's like this, if you were picking up the hairs after my haircuts anyway, you wouldn't need a forklift for the job. So.
Maybe that's it. You might have figured that out.
I'm just laughing at the idea of your choice as being a forklift driver or a...
Yeah, I know. I don't know what way I answered the aptitude test. It must have been horrendous, but I was like, yeah.
And have you ever driven a forklift?
No, I have no real need or want either. Hairdressing, I was okay. The thought of that was okay, I guess. But I would have just been singing while I was doing hair, I'd imagine. So I probably would just have annoyed everybody. Yeah,
well, sure, the only thing about it, like, I mean, you'd save on having to have a radio on the place.
That's very true.
Yeah. Something, you know, the only trouble you'd have, like me, would be someone saying, no, I don't like that song. Kathy, would you be able to change it?
Yeah, change the station.
But now, of course, we'll just get to the elephant in the room, as the fella says. A lot of people compare your own voice to Karen Carpenter. Now,
yeah.
I mean,
and you know what? It's a huge compliment, I have to say. But I didn't know I sang like her because this is going to sound awful. I didn't know who Karen Carpenter was till I was 20. And the only reason I found out then was because a man by the name of Jim Byrne, who was a musician himself in Navan, he said, you should listen to Karen Carpenter, you sound very like her.
Yeah.
And there was a movie, a TV movie thing, like about her life, and that had come out that year, and it was on the TV, and I watched it, and that was the first time I realised at some point I must have heard Top of the World, but didn't think anything of the voice, didn't think, didn't find it remarkable or whatever. But when I watched the movie, I was like, wow, I didn't think I sang like her, I must say, at any point. I still struggle to hear that. But I thought her music was beautiful. I thought, she had a very sad existence and very sad life. And so that was the first time I'd actually realised that somebody thought I sounded like another singer, because I just thought I sounded like me.
Oh, well, you do sound like you do sound like, but it's actually comical is, I do a little bit of post office work, and I was in the place where I was working today, and a lady called Carmel, and, I happened to mention to her that I had you on, and she says, I haven't heard of her. And I just said, and I put on YouTube, and I'm just not that lonely anymore. Slipped that one on, and all of a sudden I could see her head, kind of, the way Linda Blair in The Exorcist, without the evil look on it. I mean, her head just kind of spun around like 180 degrees, and she just, who's that? And I said, that's Kathy Crinion. That's, wow, she says, she is she says, that's an amazing voice, she says, and she's so like Karen Carpenter. So there you have it,
Wow. Thank you, Carmel.
Oh, yes. And Carmel, if you're listening, you better have your balance right tomorrow now. You know yourself, say no more. But of course, you say you had your first band, and tell us from then on what happened from there, Kathy, or what sort of music did that band play, or
it was a wedding band essentially. So you were kind of just doing covers. There was no such thing as doing original music; it was all covers. And I did that for quite a while with various bands. But I always felt there was a writer in me, and I did write songs like from the age of about 15. But I didn't think they were sort of. Well, actually, some of them, if I listen back to them now, you wouldn't put them anywhere. But I just didn't think they were for other people to hear. And I think at that age, it was the right thing to do. But when I got that bit older, I kind of got back into it again and played some of them for a few people. They weren't overly enamored with them, but by the time I kind of got to my mid-20s, I started getting better and better. And then I went into the studio and recorded some of them as demos. And there was a lot of attention kind of garnered around that. So that was kind of nice, and it was nice to kind of get feedback and for people to actually say, they're, good songs or whatever. So I kind of, the songwriting has been something I've always really enjoyed. And I find it very therapeutic and it's almost like keeping a journal, and it gets my thoughts down on paper. So I really enjoy writing, and that kind of geared me into performing some of my own stuff at my gigs with musicians. And then it kind of, after that then, I suppose, did various concert circuits, and then just met some other people, and we ended up making an album, and then a few years later after that made another album, which is the one that I kind of did very well, which was Lovin' What I Do, which was produced by Pete Ware. And I suppose at that point, that's where, Michael Cummins and people like that, you and yourself would have heard me at around that point. It would have been around that album coming out, or maybe just before it. So it's been an amazing journey, a long journey, and I wasn't, when I was 4 and 5 years of age, thinking I wanted to be a singer. I expected to be a pop star overnight. I wasn't thinking country, I was thinking pop, I was thinking Madonna, I was thinking Prince, I was thinking Michael Jackson. And then later I started listening to like the Eagles and people like that, and I just realised actually I listen to something I don't perform. So I would have listened to James Taylor and Cat Stevens and David Gates and Bread and people like that, and And that's, I find now, in hindsight, that's kind of been my influences when it comes to country music as well, and my writing and what I'm writing. You know, it's that kind of, it's almost folk country, if I had to put a name on it. I don't really like labels. So. But yeah, if I had to put a name on it, I think that's kind of where I feel my voice sits. You know, I do like the old love songs. I think they're the best.
Yeah, well, you do have a voice that just puts great emotion into a love song. And of course, like, I mean, Ron Hinsley actually asked me to play We Need More Time. Of course, that was one written by yourself, and a beautiful song. And of course, there is a backstory to that. I remember you telling me before about that. If you wouldn't mind, like, you know, because people would have heard the song and maybe wondering what is the backstory to it.
Yeah, it was actually written about my father-in-law. So my father-in-law, my husband's father, passed away. He was only 53. Suddenly, just a heart attack. He was out cycling that morning and came home and just had a massive heart attack. And we were very young, and we had a young baby at the time, our first child, Jake, and he was only, what age was he? About 3, I think, at the time. And it was just, it just took us out, like, we wouldn't have experienced death, really. You know, we were young, getting married, so we were 22 when we got married, and we Jake at 23, so we were like, what, 25 or something at this point. So this was a massive, massive impact, and like I said, I find writing therapeutic, so I wanted to write a song about how we were feeling. And we just needed more time. We didn't get to say goodbye or any of that. And there's a line in the song where a child's hand is reaching out to comfort me, and that was my son reaching out his hand every time I was crying. Or, you know, it was just so heartbreaking, and especially for my husband, you know. And it was trying to support him and be strong for him, but yet, you know, we were all grieving. So that's where We Need More Time came from. Yeah, it was a tough time, and it's still very real, you know.
Yeah.
It's you know, somebody's taken, there's no preparation, you know. Like when my father died, my father passed away 13 years ago, and he was my hero, my rock. But we knew his life was coming to an end. We had time, you know. He was 81, but we had time to prepare for it. Yeah. I think when it's ripped away from you like that, it's just so painful for everybody who's left behind.
Yeah, my own father passed away of a heart attack as well, and none of us got a chance to say goodbye either. So yeah, I would know where. So hard. Yeah. I'd know where you'd be coming from on that one, you know. So yeah, and there is he's just we'll say no more on it, but that's
you still feel it,
yeah. Oh yeah, 33 years and still there, you know. So so it's really difficult. It is, and I know people say time is a healer, and yes, it is to a point, but it never really goes away. I think you just move on, and other things kind of take up space in your brain. But I think you know yourself. You've obviously been there, so. Oh yeah. Now, of course, with the songwriting, you've worked with some fabulous songwriters yourself, like, I mean, and you've sang some, Pat Alger being one, of course, that you've...
lovely man.
Yeah, of course, Pat, anyone that isn't too sure who that is, of course, a writer of songs for, among many others, Mr. Garth Brooks.
Yeah, he wrote most of the songs on his album, No Fences. Just amazing writer. Yes, so and you've what was it? Venus and Mars was, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's one of Pat's. Yeah, and like just I'm very blessed when it came to Nashville and the links in Nashville, like just writing with people, and Kent Maxon, actually the new single was co-written with him and the other singer on it, Adam James Daybolt, and it's you're just so blessed writing with these people. Like you're just. It's like a different, and they're such accomplished writers, and they're so gracious with their time when they're writing with you. It's not a burden to them. They're so welcoming. They so want to write with you. You know, it's an incredible experience. You know, and there's definitely a southern hospitality in Nashville.
Yeah, because Kent Maxon, who you mentioned there, of course, wrote a number of songs for Mary Duff's album Changing Lanes.
That's right.
Looking Forward to the Past, of course. If I'm not, that was co-written, of course, with Garth Brooks between Kent and So you were kind of mixing with royalty there as well. You see,
mixing with royalty, and he's a great friend as well. I would class Max as one of my friends. I've stayed with him in his home, and he's such a gracious man, a lovely man, very sweet and kind, and he just doesn't have a bad bone in his body. He's such a good man.
And one of the greatest turn of phrases, he has a great turn. He's able to twist words to suit. Put 2 or 3 different meanings to a word. That's just something that I love. Kent has a great turn of phrase. Yeah.
It's a huge talent in itself.
Yeah. Now, of course, you have a lot of country artists. The Bluebird Cafe would be seen as a sort of a shrine or a holy grail, shall we say. And you've played there, and not only played there, but sold it out.
Couldn't believe it. People couldn't get in. It was amazing. Fabulous experience. It was the night before St. Patrick's Day. Is it 3 years now? Gosh, it probably is 3 years ago now. But it was fantastic, and it was just the most magical experience, because it's a mecca for songwriters, for country songwriters, and it is that's the place you want to be, and to be headlining act, and I got to also share the stage with Pat Alger, Casey Kelly, Ashley McBride, Wood Newton. This is just heaven. And actually Ashley McBride has just won, I think, Country Song 2020 in the CMAs or something. I didn't even get to read it properly, but she's flying at the minute. She headlined in Country to Country in the Point. I always call it the Point, in the 03, 02, whatever it is. There last year, just amazing. I'm showing my age. That's what's happening here.
Well, I know where you're talking about, so we're all right.
Yeah, anybody else would go, the Point, what's she on about? The Bluebird was amazing. It was an incredible experience, and I was so humbled and so blessed, and I even said it on stage, I felt like a bit of a fraud, because all these people were so ridiculously talented and accomplished, and there's Kathy Crinion from County Meath, up there among them, and it was just, and they were so wonderful. Audience loved it. It was a brilliant night. It's one I'll never forget.
And I'm sure the feedback was absolutely sensational. Not just in the songwriting, but you do have a voice that can carry most any song that's out there. If someone handed you a Japanese dictionary, I'd say you'd make it sound good,
Not so sure about the Japanese one, because languages are not my strong point. But thank you for that very strange metaphor.
But now, of course, Adam, James and Kent and yourself, then you wrote the new song, your new single.
Yeah, Standing on the Edge. Yeah. It's actually a song that I just love the storyline behind it. It's about sort of 2 ex-lovers meeting at an airport and, talking about their new lives and what they're doing now, but reminiscing about what they had when they had it, and should they go back there or not. And it's just about crossing lines and about blurred lines. And I was in the airport when I decided, I'm going to write a song. I was actually leaving Nashville, and I was writing to Adam, just thanking him. The night before we had a sort of a going away night or whatever. And I was writing, telling about the song, and we kind of started writing the song there and then, over text and stuff. And then Kent got in on it and started. So it was just one of those things. It was amazing, and it came together really quickly. And then Adam demoed it over in Nashville for me, and Kent sent it over, and I loved it. I was crying listening to him sing it. He's such a beautiful voice anyway. And I just said, you know what, this is a duet. This is the two of us are going to sing this. And that's what we did. Yeah. And we recorded, you know, basically very socially distantly. He in Nashville, me in Ireland, and then my producer in the UK, and it all came together to be the single that's just released now. So yeah, it's amazing what technology can do, and we need it more than ever at the minute. I know it looks like things are getting very promising on that front, but yeah, it was nice to be still able to record music and release it, even though we were in lockdown essentially at the time.
And when a song comes into your head, is it sort of fully formed as regards to the tune and the tempo, the words, or is it that you know, how, give us a little, or how...
Oh gosh, how do I put a song together? Do you know what, sometimes it's very different. Sometimes I'll just get a title of a song and work from that. Yeah. You know, in my head, or somebody will say something and I go, that's a great title for a song, or a great idea for a song. And actually Standing on the Edge was originally going to be called Blurred Lines. So you can see how it evolves into something completely different. So yeah, and it was like, I guess for me, I normally pick up the guitar and I'll kind of have some kind of a chord progression going on, and then I'll work from there. The music and the lyrics tend to come together with me. I know it's different for everybody. Yeah. And I'm not saying I religiously stick to that, but it does seem to happen like that mostly for me. So yeah, I mean, writing I'm not, there are method writers. There are people who write in particular ways with particular formats, and they'll have, you know, sort of verse, chorus, verse, middle-aged chorus, whatever. They have their own way of doing it. I don't have any rules. I'm really bad at sticking to the 3-minute rule for songs. I always put in way too many verses. So I'm not good at sticking to rules in general anyway. But when it comes to songwriting, I tend to break all of them. So and that probably is quite frustrating when you're co-writing. So it's good to have the discipline of accomplished writers to kind of tidy up my work, for want of a better term. Sometimes I get it right. Sometimes it's you know, bang on, sort of 3 minutes, 16 seconds, and it's quite intact. Other times it's a sprawling mess, and it's nice to have somebody come in and kind of blitz it, I suppose.
Kind of the Cathy Crinion Rhapsody, like Bohemian Rhapsody.
There you go. Well, yeah, in fairness, they pretty much threw everything at that song, and it was the most incredible piece of work ever, you know.
Oh, man.
Proper rock opera, yeah.
Of course, you see, when you were saying about that, about methods, I know that I think it was Chris de Burgh used to kind of work 9 to 5 at that. Gilbert O'Sullivan, I think, was something similar. You know what I mean? That they had their ways of, you know, writing the songs, I mean, but it was nearly like a job to them. And of course, I had I had Max T. Barnes on last week, and he was describing it as something like chopping wood and going into a grocery store and getting that bit there, that there, and having it all come together. You know, so
right.
there's
that's quite an amazing analogy, actually.
So I thought,
I don't really. And maybe I don't do enough of it to think about it in that way. Because when I write because the song is trying to get out of me. I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous. But I would pick up the guitar knowing something is coming, knowing that there's a song needs to be done or written. So, you know, I mightn't pick up a guitar for like 5-6 months, and then I have to pick it up because there's a song that needs to be written. And I just know that. I just feel that, and I'll write it. And then I could write maybe 3, 4, 5 in a couple of weeks. So it just, when the songs need to be written, they come. Yeah. It's like I don't decide on the song. It's like they tell me, I'm here. I need to be brought out in the open.
Well, actually, it reminds me of something a little bit off the track. When you were talking about the songs have to be written, that they just come. Someone asked Michael Jackson, why does he write songs? He says, if I don't, he says, God will give them to Prince instead.
I love that.
He said,
I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I thought it was a great little analogy myself now.
It is brilliant, yeah, absolutely. And I'm a Michael Jackson fan, so that suits me.
Same as. And of course a Prince fan as well, yes. But now you were saying there that working with an accomplished writer, so say if you were working with Kent, then you'd be kind of sending on what you've written, and he then is coming back with his own ideas, but he's also a kind of chopping or just advising you, well, this...
I mean, he writes differently, and I suppose, like, this particular song, this particular single, Standing on the Edge, I had a lot of it, sort of, the storyline worked out. I knew exactly what the song was about and how, where it was going to go. And then I suppose it was about just making it look neater. And that's where I suppose Adam and Kent came in. It was about, taking those ideas, taking those things that you wanted to say and fitting them in a way that it sits better in a song, and they're just really good at that, and they know their craft, and I'm learning all the time from people like that, and that's what you want. You want someone, to guide you along the way, because songwriting is very personal, and it's you're given a little bit of your soul every time you write a song, and and I think any writer feels that it's like their baby, so sometimes it's very hard to share and give it to someone to take apart and fix it up, and and I've done it with other people as well. They have ideas, they come to me and we'd write something and I'd kind of change it about, and you can nearly feel the fear, that you're going to change the song so much that it won't be the song that you were trying to write, and you don't want that either. So when you do find very clever writers like Wood Newton, Kent Max, and Charlie McGettigan's another great writer. He's he's fantastic. I've written with him too, and that they just know their craft so well that it's a pleasure to let them work with your song or work on your song with you, because they know what it's like for someone to come in and change things around. So they understand it, and there's a gentleness to it.
Of course, Wood was a co-writer on "I'm Just Not That Lonely Anymore," which would have been your big breakthrough. It's such a beautiful song, though.
Wonderful song.
And again, I'm a sucker for story.
Yeah.
I maybe that's why, I know you were saying earlier about emotion in songs. I think that's why these songs lend themselves to being sung with feeling and emotion, because they're real stories, and I always look for kind of something in my own life that I can reflect on, that I can with as far as emotion is concerned when I'm singing. So I don't want to sing somebody else's lyrics if I don't feel. I have sung songs that are not particularly, how would I say this? They're not particularly speaking to me.
Yeah.
And I find them really hard to sing with any kind of meaning or any kind of emotion. But for like 90% of the songs on the album Lovin' What I Do, I felt the lyrics. I really did. There was only a couple of songs there that I wasn't really, emotionally attached to, if you like.
Yeah. And of course, one of the songs that you had on that album, of course, was Wasted.
Yeah, which I wrote, all by myself. There was no co-writes on that one. Wasted, it was about me sitting up at a bar when I was in my 20s, drinking Budweiser, feeling very sorry for myself, and I wrote the chorus on the back of a beer mat. Very country, Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's about being real. I think you need to be real. I think it's like people see through anyone when they're not being authentic, when they're not being their true self. I think people can see through that. And I think it's nice to be honest when you're writing as well. I think if something has affected you emotionally, I think, if you're a songwriter, write it down, even if nobody ever sees it.
Yeah.
Just write it down, because it's like keeping a journal. It's like keeping a diary,
It's a release.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And of course, now you've taken a little bit of a detour, shall we say, from the music. And when we're talking about emotions and release and that, you've gone to study for your masters in. Tell us, what is it in?
Yeah, in counselling and psychotherapy. So I have a psychology background anyway, and I have a diploma in psychotherapy. But I've decided to do my master's. I'm seeing clients at the minute, and I love it. I absolutely adore it. It fits quite well with my life anyway. And especially through COVID, I think, it's nice to help people. And because I'm doing a master's, I'm not allowed to charge anybody, so people are getting their therapy for nothing, which is good, because it means there's people out of work, and and there's so much anxiety and social anxiety out there at the minute, and people terrified to go outside the door now because they've been, cocooning for so long, and it's kind of just brought up a whole lot of other mental health issues. A lot of people are struggling with depression and stuff, and it's just, for me, it feels like almost like a way of giving back. It's just, you just know you're helping people. And of course I'm doing it all via Zoom, so it means that, you're in the comfort of your own home, and you don't have to be worried about, masks and stuff, because I think the world is very different. You go out and you don't even know who you're saying hello to anymore, because you don't recognize the person behind the mask. And it's nice when you're just sitting in front of although a screen is not ideal for therapy, it's better than no therapy, I think. And and people, because they're in the comfort of their own home, they're not walking into a clinic or an office, I think they feel a little bit more comfortable. So I think they open up more. And I work a bit with dreams as well. So if people bring dreams into the session, we kind of work on them as well, because obviously dreams are from your subconscious. So it's if you have any thoughts or anything in there, you'll end up dreaming about whatever you're worrying about in those moments. And it's amazing how they can sort of elicit information that you mightn't normally talk about, because it's at a deeper level. So I do enjoy that. But I love it. I absolutely love it. I feel I've always dabbled, I suppose, in that field anyway. I've always kind of been that person that people would come to. And I know you said something similar before we went on air, that you would be that kind of person that people would talk to. And I can understand that, and I think at the minute people need someone to talk to, especially people who are lonely and people who are anxious and depressed. And it's just really important that they talk to somebody. It doesn't have to be a therapist, but it's good to talk.
Yeah, it is very good to talk. And anyone out there that's anyway lonely, or if you think anyone is a little bit on the lonely side or whatever, like an ear is a very easy thing to open up. And even if it goes in one ear and out the other, it's just an unload for the person that is talking. Absolutely. And genuinely, if any of your listeners need to talk, absolutely give me a shout. It's willowavenuetherapy.com, and I'll happily talk to anybody and listen to anybody. It's important that that we all feel supported right now. And I know things are going to be changing next year, and vaccines. There was a lovely story there today of a 90-year-old lady, 91 I think, who got her vaccine today. So the first person in Ireland. And she seems very happy with it. And so things are obviously looking up. Oh, well, hopefully we'll be able to get the music back on the road again very, very soon. And
I feel sorry for musicians. I think, and the entertainment industry in general, I think, have been hard hit. I know the hospitality sector has too, but we're still not having live music anywhere. And I think, my heart goes out to, I'm one of the lucky ones that isn't dependent on my music. Yeah. I would not, I just don't know how, the names who depend on this for their livelihood are coping. It must be absolutely impossible for them, and very difficult to kind of, and I personally know musicians who have taken a completely different day job because they have to pay bills, they have to pay mortgages. Those things don't go away in a pandemic. And it's just really, it must be really soul destroying for somebody who's made a career of their music to turn around and try to find something, you know, completely different maybe for them, you know, just to pay the bills. And it has to be a little bit of soul, sort of.
Yeah, there is. You see, there's people think that, as you're saying there, that get a real job sort of a thing. And even I remember doing an interview with Liam Riley one night, and he said that his own father for years was a case of when he getting a real job. And people still do think that a musician's job is not a real job. You know,
but it is, and these people are dependent on the gigs and the concerts for their livelihood, and it's, you know, it's very hard then to come to terms with best part of a year with no work, you know. And this would be obviously the busiest time of year for certainly musicians, you know. I just, my heart goes out to them.
Well, now, I'll tell you, I have a number of different people that have sent in messages to say hello to you, Kathy. There's a gentleman called Jerry Fahey. He says, "Hi, Seamus, say hi to Kathy and wish her all the best. She is a wonderful person and a lovely voice. We had a wonderful weekend with her and Mary Duff a few years ago in... is it
Landudno, is it? Yeah, Jerry. I remember Jerry. Hi, Jerry.
I was under pressure there to pronounce that. Thanks for that, Kathy.
Jerry's a lovely person.
He seems so. He seems so, definitely. And of course, Michelle Orr, she's over there in Bedford in England. She wishes to say hello to you.
Hi, Michelle.
And Carmel, of course, I'll have to give Carmel a mention anyway, that was in the post office right there in Kilcullen. And Ron Hinsley, as I said, he was asking for that song, We Need More Time, earlier on. So if you wouldn't mind just saying a quick hello.
Hi, Ron. How are you? Hope you're doing okay.
And Margaret Cleary says hello as well.
Hey, Margaret.
And Lev and Gloria Jackman, they're over there in New Brunswick, over there, Newfoundland, over the way. Across the water is a fellow. Oh, yeah. And
you get around, Seamus.
Oh yeah. but no, yeah, no. They're great listeners to the station, and they're over there, and they love the interviews, they love the stories, they love all that. Like, I mean, so yeah. And
hi guys.
Yeah, and of course Maureen Burke is up there in Leitrim.
Hi, Maureen.
And Annette Doyle, of course, as I was saying there, Annette was the lady that was my own good friend that me and her first saw you above in Athlone that night in the Hudson Bay. So Annette is a huge fan of yours as well.
Oh, hello, Annette. How are you keeping?
Yeah. And
hope you're well.
Tony Healy says hello as well, and Marie Byrne.
Hi, Tony.
Yeah.
And Marie, hello.
Marie Byrne, and Tommy Greville in Mullingar.
Oh, Greville's a great name. A great name.
Yeah. And let's see, who else have we got here? Patrick over there in Buckley in the UK. He's listening in as well.
How are you? God, your listeners really are all over. It's amazing.
They do. There's a lot of listeners in, and we have Valerie Wild is listening in, and she's in South Africa there. And then we have now Nicola Arnold is listening in, and now it's her birthday on Friday. Would you be able to?
Nicola.
Oh yeah. Now I won't tell you her age, but it's a little bit above 21. A small little bit. Yeah.
Lady should never tell her age.
Well, and Nicola would be a real lady, but it's her birthday, so if you wouldn't mind just saying a quick happy birthday there to Nicola as well.
Happy birthday to you, Nicola.
There you have it now. Oh, lovely. And would you believe it? She actually has the two twins, that's Ian and Aoife, that's Mini Gigi, as we call him on the station, because he's a sort of a mini version of Jerry Guthrie. And their birthday is next Tuesday. So there's
wow.
Oh, yeah.
So they're twins, yeah?
Yeah, twins, yeah.
I have twin boys.
Yeah, well, these two are, I think they're a little bit on the naughty side, but I've been having a word with, the fellow with the white beard and the red coat, Santa Claus, and he said even though they were a little bit naughty, he's still going to call to him on Christmas Eve anyway.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
And rightly so, right? Yeah, very much so. And but no, it was great to have you on, Kathy. And
thanks for having me, Seamus. You're always so lovely to me.
And here's a quick one, Kathy. Would it be possible now? I mean, just you know how much I love your voice. Just even sing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas" or something like that before you go. Just to brighten up my Christmas.
Oh, gosh, you picked the.
I
really wish I didn't have that glass of wine earlier. Oh gosh, okay. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, tiny tots with their eyes all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight. They know that Santa's on his sleigh. He's placing lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh. And every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly. And so I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you. My voice is so hoarse today. I apologize profoundly.
Well, it's like this. There's no need for auto-tune where Kathy Crinion is. That is very absolutely sweet. Wonderful. Oh, wow. It's like this now. I'm just, hold on there. I just want to get down off the ceiling here at the moment. But no, that was absolutely wonderful, Kathy, and I'm just absolutely delighted to have had you on. I know I had you on a number of years ago, but we didn't get a chance to talk as long as what we did tonight. And
it's been lovely and so relaxing. Thank you.
No problem at all. Looking forward to chatting to you again very, very soon. Hopefully meet up at a gig or two or a concert or two. And if anyone gets a chance at all, definitely catch Kathy Crinion live. I guarantee you, she is a lady that, it's like this. It's the very same as an angel just sitting on your earlobes and whispering sweet nothings in there. That is, so definitely catch Kathy Crinion if you get a chance at all live.
Thank you so much, Seamus. Thank you. And Merry Christmas to all your listeners.
Merry Christmas to you, Kathy. And thanks a million for dropping by. Thank you.
Thanks a million.
I'm going to play this one because I know it is a big favourite of Annette Doyle's. It's rock and roll banjo, of course. Annette plays the banjo herself. Going to play this one, and thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
That ran real deep, picking and grinning in the old porch swing. He loved to hear that banjo ring.
Bringing you the best in country and Irish music. This is your station, irishcountrymusicradio.com.